Hey, how's it going over there? This is Vinny Barbarino, your pal and your favorite pilot of all time. I'm out here out on the, what do they call it? The runway, right? Whatevers. Whatevers. Hey, Washington, this ain't no basketball court, okay? Alright? Get off of there. This is for airplanes over here. Airplanes and helicopters and whatever that unidentified flying object over there is, right? So I think you're gonna really enjoy this episode over here, because we're gonna be interviewing John Gillette, okay? And you get to hear him talk about what it's like making movies and writing screenplays and stuff, alright? The whole creation process. And you can bet your bottom dollar that there's definitely gonna be something in there about UFOs, right? I know, it's kind of weird, but what you gonna do? It's another extremely exciting episode of Inspirado Projecto. I always like to ask folks where the beginnings are and everything. So you wrote Aliens. We're here with John Gillette, and no relation to the Gillette razors, which I'm sure you've heard many times, right?
Well, I always say that if I was, I'd be running that place by now.
You're just downplaying it, right?
Hey, I'm still waiting for them to call me for the Gillette commercials.
That's right.
Someday they'll come knocking.
Someday. So he's putting together his movie. Alien Stoners.
Alien Zombies and Stoners.
How long has this been in cooking?
Pretty much since I did my last film. So it's been I did my last film in 2014, 2015, came out in 2016. So for at least the last 2-3 years, I've had this brewing. I've had a Facebook page up for Alien Zombies and Stoners for over a year. And so now the time is right.
What are you imagining is kind of like the aesthetic of it? Are you thinking more of like the Dark Crystal kind of route? Are you thinking more of 2D animation? Computer animation? What kind of stuff are you thinking?
Well, this is going to be shot mockumentary style, like if it was a paranormal TV show. So it's from a single camera perspective on a lot of things. It's pretty much going to have comic book elements to it. There's going to be a visual to it that has the best I can just say is a comic book feel. There's going to be music video elements to it.
Do you mean like rotoscoped?
Pardon me, rotoscoping?
Do you mean it's going to be rotoscoped?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, sure. That's a big part of special effects and everything on what you're doing, because we're going to be shooting a lot on green screen. So anytime you're shooting on green screen or just doing any other thing, you'll be rotoscoping on it. I won't be, but we'll have people doing that.
Because I was imagining in Lord of the Rings, they rotoscoped. Because you were saying it's kind of like a comic book. I was imagining, is it like that kind of thing where... what were some of those other movies that brought that to light? But there was that Lord of the Rings where they rotoscoped goblins and different fight scenes and stuff. So it was actually humans running, but they just went frame after frame and they turned it into a cartoon kind of look. Is it that kind of thing you're thinking about?
Well, no. It's for instance like sky replacement and everything like that. Like if you were in the real world, if you're outside in the evening, there's lighting is crazy. The skies never look like they do on the TV shows.
Right.
You see, everything that's
sun moves. There are shadows.
Right. Well, I mean, you'll notice that everything that's shot in the evening is very well lit, and that's not the way it is in the real world. Well, this I didn't want to have to deal with a whole lot of lighting issues, and because I wanted a certain look and feel to it, it's going to be shot during the daytime hours, but I'm going to have spooky sky replacements done in there.
So they make it look like it's shot in the nighttime, which I think is so brilliant that you can even do that these days.
Well, you can, like I said, you can get just a stock image of a midnight blue sky with the clouds going across it and the moon looking really cool, and that can be added in, and then you add another layer of like clouds and then another layer of like little bit of mist, and then you've got yourself a spooky sky in the background, and of course with your characters in the foreground and everything, you're going to have to add in darkness and shadows and other certain things to make it look like it's in there. But the end result is more comic book-like to me, and it's going to have get across the tone that I want to get across of something eerie or spooky.
When I think of like Tim Burton movies, I'm imagining like a comic booky kind of vibe. Are you imagining like that kind of vibe where, I mean, like surrealistic kind of things? I can imagine there's going to be quite a lot of crazy characters and stuff in this.
Yeah, I imagine it when I say comic book. It's because we are planning on having a companion comic with it. So the goal is to possibly have merchandising with this comic books, video games, even cannabis products down the road. What was I just at?
The idea of that comic book vibe where,
the comic book vibe.
You know, is it like a caricature? Is that what you mean? Like it's very highly exaggerated?
No, when I say comic book, it's just that the way it's going to be put together in certain sequences is going to, because like for instance, when you read a comic book, things are accentuated in there as far as colors and themes, and like I said, when just down to basic stuff like the sky replacement is going to look very stylized, and there's going to be breaks within the movie to where like it's kind of like a cliffhanger moment, and it's going to go to like some sort of either insert, or I have another thing that can be done there. But when the cliffhanger stops, it's like you'll see the character and then it'll freeze, and then they're going to it's going to take that picture that freezes and turn it into a comic, like a drawing version, and then go to like a commercial type thing. Because this is going to be, like I said, presented as if it's a paranormal TV show that somebody's watching. So there could be commercial breaks in it. I'm more than likely, instead of commercial breaks, I'm going to you remember the the Muppets, right? Well, you remember the two old guys in the balcony that comment on stuff?
Oh yeah.
I was going to try and have two stoner puppets that would comment on things. So after each little cliffhanger thing where it would stop, the two little puppets would comment.
Like they're kind of critiquing on what they just saw.
Yeah. So
or like adding some kind of, that's great.
Yeah, so that was kind of the thought there.
It's kind of sounds to me like it's like reflecting the thoughts of the audience itself.
Well, what I wanted to do was make something that has a flow to it, and have it all be within the horror theme, but have a lot of different components that every 10 minutes somebody's seeing something that's weird, because I'm definitely trying to build a brand here, and so it just depends on the resources that I have on how much grander it can get, so to speak.
Now, with Sky Captain and the World Tomorrow, I think it was, from what I understand, he had shot sort of a demo or something in his living room with the green screen, and the magic that he did with that, maybe I'm inventing this, but I thought I heard the story, then he ends up showing that, and that was the thing that got people interested in going, ooh, let's get behind this and put this out there. You were just talking about green screens. What are some of the tactics that you're using, or where will you be filming this movie?
Well, the green screen shots are going to be done in my place here. I'm going to set up a huge green screen, and I have a cinematographer who knows about lighting and all that stuff, and I'll be shooting that here, and then I'll be shooting most of the stuff back in Iowa in the summertime. So.
What's exciting about this is that when I shot Max Neptune, a lot of that stuff was green screen, and we have if you look on YouTube, there's this. It's if you just put in Max Neptune VFX, you can see the shots that we got afterwards in the movie, and then the ones what it looked like beforehand with all the green. And there's this part where I'm laying on my stomach and I'm holding onto this steel cable, and it's kind of like they put me on kind of like a human Lazy Susan, and so my belly's on this green Lazy Susan thing, and the camera comes at me, and then the Lazy Susan slowly spins, so as the camera pulls back, it looks like I have just turned around and gone in the other direction. I'm wearing a jetpack on my back, so it looks like it looks like I just went whoosh and flew right past you. So it's so funny because you see within that, oh my gosh, we shot in a garage? You know, like, yeah, how crazy was that? Like, after all that's done, you never even realize this. And there's this shot where people are standing in front of the garage outside, and you could see in the shot his dad is there, just standing right off screen of the green screen, and they're like, oh, pointing at the sky. There's a huge, robot squid. So it's just really cool that no matter where you're shooting stuff, you can put stuff together and Frankenstein anything together. Doesn't matter if you're in a house, in a garage, if you're in a whole nother state.
I'll be Frankensteining the hell out of this thing. Like I said, I'm going to be like filming on green screen, like different zombies, different things like that, because I'm not going to be able to have 50 people to shoot this and have makeup for all of them and everything like that. So, but with the modern technology now, man, you can have them all added in later.
Well, with that stuff too, I don't know if you've ever seen it's called Witch Doctor by a band. It's called Destat, and it's crazy. There are all of these clones of all of these people in there, and they could totally do that. If you need zombies, okay, cool. Let's clone the same person. Just make them do a few zombie faces and stuff, and all right, okay, like a paintbrush. Now you got a whole army of these crazy, these zombies moving along.
That's exactly what we'll be doing. Yeah. And I'll be one of the zombies, just putting on another shirt, putting on a hat, different scar, doing something different, and they'll just. So it'll be fun. It'll be nerve-wracking and fun, but
How long did it take for you to write the screenplay?
Not long, probably a month, if that. I had the idea in my head. I didn't even. I wrote the screenplay as something that I was going to shoot, not as something I was going to sell. That's a different style of writing for me, because most of the stuff I write is for stuff that I'm going to sell. When it's something that I'm going to shoot, I write it a little bit looser, because the script, the way it is now, is, I'd say about half of it's not going to be shot like the way it is in the script. Because over the time period, I've, just you reevaluate things, you find better ideas, and you see certain things that will need to be cut to make the flow go better, and then there's also certain budget things, and you find out that you don't need as much of a cast as what you thought you did on certain things, and so there's always things that get massaged to the point to where it's like a puzzle pieces that you're putting together, and finally, okay, I see it. And now it's now finally got to the point it's gelling in my mind, like I pretty much know what I can try and do with it.
I filmed before this, The Light. How long did it take for you to shoot that? You shot that out in the country.
I shot that in Michigan, and we shot that whole film over a 3-day weekend. And just thankfully, I had my shot list down to a T. So I was meticulous. So there was no downtime. It was boom, boom, boom. We knew exactly where we were going with everything, and the fact that it was shot found footage style, which once again single camera, made it a quicker and much easier shoot.
how many actors were you able to, and or crew, were you able to kind of corral together for that?
That's one of those things to where you hear a lot of times for low budget productions. Everybody did like 3 different jobs. Everybody wore like 3 hats. So pretty much all of the actors in it were crew. You know, when they weren't in a scene, they were crew.
So at that party, what, either A, you must have had a big crew, or B, you must have been able to do some of that movie magic that you see with stand-ins, you know, extras and whatnot. They must have just threw on different hats or clothes or whatnot. So like if you see people from the back or whatever, did they do any of that?
No, not in those. There was enough people at the party scene to where I didn't have to recycle them.
Because it looks like there was a lot of people there.
No, there was a lot of people there. We just thankfully had a lot of people show up. You know, so there was just enough to make it look the way I wanted it to look, because the whole idea, at least in that scene, was that it was way in the middle of the woods and there should be no reason a bunch of people there are partying.
I love the fact too is that you could get away with people looking at the camera, and it's no big whoop, because it's from the point of view of a guy who's walking through with the camera, coming upon this new party. Here's this thing, and they're all looking at him. So it just worked out perfect. It's just awesome. So because we shot a version of that as well. There's also that version that exists. And how long did it take for us to shoot that? Because that was on the weekends too, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did that over a few weekends.
That was over the few weekends, and I thought you were able to stitch that together really well and fit it together with the woods footage mixed with the footage that was there during the camping scenes, walking around.
We worked the same way, just had everything lined out, you know, exactly what had to be done. And like I said, thankfully, everybody on the thing, you know, did a good job. I mean, that's the one thing about, I will say, because, you know, the thing I did with you was a good prelude to doing the second film. It was a very learning experience, but I will tell you that I got far much better actors with you guys. Far much better actors with you guys. Well, think it's just that in the end, really the look of Michigan was a lot better looking than the look of California, you know, for what I wanted to do and stuff like that. So
well, you could. It would be interesting to see what would happen if you released, you know, because like directors will do that. They'll do a remake of their film. People would never expect that. So it could look like this. If you release the one we did, it'll look like it's a remake of the first one. That would be kind of interesting to see how that.
Well, I will tell you, in the back of my mind, the goal would be that Alien, Zombies, and Stoners would get some sort of a cult classic to allow other things to happen for me, and then people would want to check out my beginning work, because most people don't know that Peter Jackson started off the same way. His first movie was Bad Brains or something like that, but it took him 6 years to make. 6 years. And then his second movie was Dead Alive, and that was one of my favorite comedy horror films.
Zombies, right?
Yeah.
I just remember someone, I've never seen it, but I heard of, there's a scene where they have a freaking lawnmower, and they're walking through a bunch of zombies and just like splattering them all over the place.
It's awesome. It was a great movie, and then the next thing after for Peter Jackson was he got a bigger movie called The Frighteners, because they came to New Zealand to film with Michael J. Fox.
Oh yeah.
So, but Peter Jackson, one of the biggest directors of all time, started off making the most low-budget horror things, and so.
Well, and that's the thing. Everybody has their process that they go through. You know, they go through because, man, you know, the funny thing is, Jimi Hendrix was not born with a guitar in his hand when he came out of the womb. You know, he worked up to that, and it's awesome to be able to show this process of what people go through, because those who listen to this are going through a similar process, and it makes them feel good. Like, okay, it doesn't have to come out perfect. No matter what, we're always good. Ideally, we hope that we'll evolve into other things. If we stay the same, you know, you're not evolving. So no matter what, we're always going to be evolving, and we're always going to go, well, I could have done better on that. Well, that's all we knew at that time when we first did that thing. So It's but you're right. That'll be great when people start looking back at your other stuff and.
That's the hope, anyway. It's just I will say that the movies, got me some good exposure. I actually got a very good review on IMDb from it. That somebody who reviewed it on there gave it 7 out of 10 stars. And I remember him saying that, in it, that the things that he liked about it was the fact that I didn't follow the same path everybody else did with found footage films, and that the cool thing is that he said that he's going to get a lot of flack for giving it 7 out of 10 stars when so many other like cult classics or blockbuster movies have gotten less. And he goes, because this one is better. He goes, this one was more entertaining.
That's great.
And I mean, yeah, it is nice to know that there's somebody out there that really, really got it and liked it.
Yeah.
And they just so happened to be a reviewer.
Yeah. And they decided to give their opinion. I thought that's really cool.
And I mean, the thing is that you get good and you get bad comments here, but I mean, even the biggest blockbusters have people call it pieces of crap. But I mean, I've got a movie on YouTube, and most all the comments are actually very, very good about it being funny and campy and cult classic like and porn level acting. And
if everybody liked it, there would be no edge to it. There'd be no perspective to it. It'd be just,
Well, it's one of those things. When I was going to do a found footage film originally, I was going to do it like everybody else did, which was like Blair Witch, like it was serious. But you know what? The thing is, so many of those movies came out, and I just didn't want to be the exact same. So I thought, you know what? Why don't we do it with some comedy? To where people are actually interested in the characters and what's going on before the scary stuff happens. Because, quite honestly, to me and most people I know, when it comes to Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity, most people were bored with it until the scary stuff happened. And that's what I wanted to do, is entertain people into it. And I guess that's part of the brand I'm building, is even as a writer, the edgier comedy seems to be my forte.
Now, you got quite a few screenplays I remember you discussing with me over the years. You don't have to go into details of them, but how many would you say that you have?
Combined that I've written for other people and works for
Just
hire.
just edit for anything. I mean, you could divide them up, but I mean, just of all
Well,
time.
it's because I've written like 3 or 4 screenplays for hire before. So, let's just say 25, 26, 27 maybe. I have to think of them all, but I know at least around with everybody that I've written for and myself, 25 around at least.
Which is remarkable, because a lot of folks still haven't even written their first. The fact that you've just gone 25 screenplays into this.
The first step is the hardest. I can remember back in the day when I had an idea for my first script I wanted to do, and I've never written a script, and I knew I had to write a treatment for it. And I didn't even know how to write a treatment. I had an actor friend that was living with me that knew how to write a treatment. And I'm like, he told me he'd help me write the treatment. So, and he kept procrastinating, and I'm like, help me, because I didn't know what a fucking treatment was. And so it's like he fucking moved away, and so I'm like, I had to learn on my own.
There's a big question mark in your brain, and what the hell's the treatment all about?
You know what? It was a learning experience. I had to learn on my own. I had to learn to write my own treatment, and my first script, I wrote it handwritten and everything. I had to learn the structure of how to write a script, and then I hand wrote it, and I gave it to a friend's wife and paid her like $100 to transpose it for me and do it on the back at that time it was on the typewriter, I think, or word processor back in the 90s.
What did you come to the conclusion of a treatment? What are the ingredients of that?
Well, a treatment it's basically a breakdown of what the whole story is. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I mean, even in a synopsis, you do, but a treatment is more detailed, where treatments can be anywhere from a couple pages to, I've heard of 30-page treatments. And that's been by huge writers turning it into studios, 30-page treatments. But But generally, the treatments, if you have a 30-page treatment, it's because you haven't written the script yet. So you got to be very detailed about certain twists and scenes. And I mean,
so the treatment is usually written after you already have the screenplay. You're kind of, in a sense, giving them a synopsis?
No. Well, the deal is that for any screenplay that you write, more than likely, if you are going to try to sell it or get it optioned or anything, you're going to always have to have a synopsis, because people don't have time to read scripts. They'll want to read the synopsis. That's generally 1 to 2 pages, beginning, middle, end of the story.
The bait on the hook.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, ooh, I like that. I need to know more now.
Right. And actually, the synopsis thing is, a lot of times you could have a producer that's like, okay, well, let me see I want to know more about it, but let me see your treatment on it. And that's kind of crappy. He should just ask for the script after that point. But there are some people that ask more for the treatment. But generally, I see that it's more than likely a synopsis they're asking for, because most people, after reading 1 or 2 pages of what's going on, will know whether they want to read the script or not.
And sometimes they just really like that concept, and they just go, yeah, let me see what that's all about. There's
been films that have just been sold out there on the title alone. One of the famous ones I heard about was called Sharknado. Not Sharknado, Jurassic Shark. Yeah, it was Jurassic Shark. And that's why I believe a lot of my scripts that I've written in the last couple of years, it's been all about the titles for me. I like, when you have a title that tells you exactly what the movie's about, that is gold. That producers, people love that. And that's why you say alien, zombies, and stoners. Anytime I tell somebody that, they chuckle and they laugh. You know exactly.
And that could go in so many directions, but you know what kind of ingredients are most likely going to be involved with it.
Yes, you know exactly.
You just don't know what the heck, where it might go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the last few scripts I've written that I like a producer option from you was Designated Driver. I've got a one that I hope will get picked up here soon called My Ex's Wedding. And so anyway, I like making titles where you know kind of exactly what you're getting into.
Okay, so what's one genre? Like, for instance, these two that you just recommended. What genre are those?
Comedies, edgy comedies. Yeah. So I mean, if you were like, when you think about like movies like Something About Mary, The Hangover,
like Wachowski brothers, kind of.
Yeah, Something About Mary. Not Wachowski brothers. They did Matrix.
Oh no, I'm thinking of not Coen brothers, Farrelly brothers. Yeah, there are a lot of brothers going around.
Yes, I would probably say my scripts have a Farrelly brothers tone to them. Goofy stuff in there. Classic jokes, setting it up, a payoff later, bathroom humor, physical humor. I'm a fan of all of it, but I try to put things in there that are what I call familiar but fresh, and I do that with music too. Familiar but fresh is that it's familiar to people, but you do it in such a way to where it's fresh. I've always been looking for a way to figure out how to do like a who's on first type thing in a fresh way. Still looking for that one.
It could be a musical version of that, with your music, because you got so much music.
Did you ever see Rush Hour 2? They did a thing like that when they were at this martial arts studio. The guy's name was you, and the other guy's name was me. Are you? No, I'm me, or something like that. And those type of things. So that's what I'm saying is like a who's on first type thing. I've still been trying to figure out a more original way on doing something like that, because that would be great to do.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. I was just thinking about that one the other day because my buddy was telling me to watch this movie about Lauren Hardy. I guess there's this really kick-ass movie, and
C. Riley.
Oh, so I heard it was because I remember seeing the trailer. I'm like, it was so curious to me. I didn't know, it already came out or something. So it's cool to hear that thing's out. Did you end up seeing that?
I saw a trailer though.
Now, what other kind of genres do you like to explore in?
Well, I mean, as a writer, the only other ones I've really dabbled in is science fiction. Comedy and science fiction seem to be, as a writer, what I do. The horror thing, I'll be upfront with you, that it's kind of funny that as a viewer, horror generally is the genre I like the least. I generally like sci-fis, then comedies, and then, horror is kind of down the list. But as a filmmaker, when you're trying to get things done on a low budget, man, there's nothing else like horror. Horror is the #1 genre around the world, and that's just one of the easier ways to get something done. A lot of times.
It's interesting how popular the idea of extreme despair, anguish, fear, pain, etc., so forth, down the negativity rabbit hole we go. You attach all that to a horror film. It's interesting how many are attracted to that kind of doom. It's really intriguing because I don't really watch horror films, but it's so funny because I worked on Bloody Bobby and Black Pumpkin. These are horror films, and so it's much easier to see guts being made in front of you than it is to actually see it up on a screen, happening on a screen. Someone gets stabbed in the guts. It's like, oh man, I can't handle that. So with the science fiction stuff, what kind of led you into the direction of creating science fictions? You've had a few. Would you like to talk about your UFO photographs? Which is so exciting to me.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you want to know?
So, So, at what point did you realize? When did you first? Because you told me very soon to when you realized that there were a series of photographs where, if you look closer, you always saw a little UFO, little thing up there in the sky.
About a few years ago, me and my girlfriend, we like to go to the beach every week, and I'd take pictures of her at the beach. And one time, I noticed that in one of the pictures, there was a classic UFO up there in the sky. And I'm like, what? No way. So I'm zooming in on it. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, well, the thing wasn't there when I took the picture, but, our eyes don't see the same spectrums of lights that a camera does. So UFOs can exist, or whatever they are, can exist in different spectrums of light. So it started making me think, like, well, this wasn't in my pictures, it wasn't there when I took the picture, but it was there afterwards. And so something clicked inside, and it just made me start looking through my photo albums. And the weird thing is I found like pictures when I was a kid, like paper pictures that had a UFO up there, and I've had it zoomed in, and I had other people into that look at it and do some sort of things with this, not a spectrograph. I mean, they're able to look at it, like invert something, and to where you can kind of see the shape of it. And because in the picture, it's a blurry, of course, but where it's at, where you see it in the position above a tree or whatever, it's always the size of a car or something like that. And when you do certain things with it, you can kind of see the shape of it, and it's kind of a classic UFO saucer type shape. And the weird thing is, these are pictures I've had for years and I've looked at on and off, and it's just you never see it before, because it's not within your reality, I guess, at that time. But what got really weird was that, so after that, I started looking it all over, and I started finding a few more pictures that had things in it that was like, wow. And the weirdest one was, I found this. It was a digital picture from a picture I took of my uncle's farm about 10 years ago, and I went out, and there's this picture of a barn. There's the barn, and there's a field behind it, because it's flat there, and about half a mile to a mile behind the barn is a tree line. And so I took a picture of the barn. And so anyway, I'm looking at that picture because I'm looking at all the sky pictures that I have, and I'm not seeing anything in the sky in this picture. But something compels me to keep zooming in on the picture. And so I keep zooming in until I'm at that tree line that's a mile behind the barn. And when I get in that far, you could see a big round object floating above the trees, and it's got a shadow on it. It's not a water tower or anything, because there's nothing that close like that there. And you would never see that unless you zoomed in on it. Something compelled me to do it.
Now, have you had any dreams or any close encounters that you know of with any extraterrestrials?
No, not that I know of. But the thing is that my friend Tracy Torme, who's a ufologist and has conducted many interviews with abductees, he tells me that for my points of contact, all the pictures that I've taken, things that I have seen, because I have seen some things in the sky that are not conventional aircraft, and other stuff, he says that I'm one of the few people he's met with quite a few points of what he calls contact. He calls pictures contact, you know. But, you know, the strange thing to me is that I believe that probably most of the UFOs that people have seen have been our own technology. For me, though, the weird thing is that if they've been showing up in my pictures as a kid, it would be weirder to me if it was the government than aliens. Because why would the government, UFOs or whatever, be showing up to, you know, photobomb me? That would seem, actually, it may sound weird, but that would actually sound more disturbing to me than aliens doing it. Yeah, I could see aliens wanting to do it, but why the government?
That's a good question. Remember we went to I talked about Dr. Roger Lear, right?
That's right, I've met Roger Lear a couple times.
I met him with you when we went to a secret. I love it. It's exactly something I would hope to be a part of, is a secret UFO meeting in Marina Del Rey. You took there about 3 or 4 times. Oh, I loved it. I loved it each and every single time, meeting the people.
That's how bad my brain
the people
is.
in the industry. Oh, I loved it. Now, Roger Lear, what are some of the things that you can remember that really stuck out to you concerning Roger Lear? Because I try to tell the at-home viewers about this stuff, but I think I'd love for them to hear your perspective.
Roger Lear was a doctor who, I think he was actually a podiatrist, is what he was. He worked on feet or something like that, but he got well known for basically taking what people might consider alien implants out, foreign objects in the body that should not be there, that had foreign matter that was weird. He's actually performed operations to where when he came close to the object would try to move away.
I remember that one.
So, yeah, Roger Lear's no longer with us now, but he was he played his part in knowing something's going on.
I remember him saying it was the smoking gun. He goes, the implants he finds is the smoking gun of the existence of aliens, because in each of these things
There would be a certain electrical, impulse, but then once they removed it, it turned off,
Right. My opinion would be is that, yes, it's very advanced, but does it have to be aliens? No, it could be ours. My whole thing is that I'm very up in ancient history and weird things that have gone, and the one thing we know for sure is that there was somebody different, very advanced here in the past,
Those paintings with UFOs.
Well, exactly, all this stuff. That doesn't mean it has to be aliens at all. For all we know, we could have had a very advanced race, more advanced than we are now. It's been proven now there was a cataclysm 12,000 years ago with an asteroid hit. There was a rise in sea levels. All that type of thing could have totally reset everything, And it would, if you could just imagine now, Imagine with the technology we got now. Let's just say that, God forbid, there was a nuclear war or something, but all the governments in the world with all of their technology had to go underground for years because of radiation or something bad going, and they couldn't come out for like maybe a decade or two, maybe 3 decades. Well, imagine if you come out a few decades later, there's going to be pockets of survivors. They're probably not, with everything going on, they're not going to have the same history, and you see a certain type of thing flying over you. You may think it's from somewhere else. You may not know what it's about. So it's within the realms of possibilities that we could have had this advanced race that's been here the whole time, and that what people saw in the past was them, and they referred to them as gods because they could have pretended to be gods, not let them know the real story or whatever. We don't know. And what I'm getting at now is like, for instance, that was about that there could be something advanced here. I'm not saying it has to be aliens. It could have been advanced and people just think it could be aliens. But now since Tesla's technology from over 100 years ago, Tesla made an anti-gravity UFO. And I'll tell you what, with everybody that was funding his stuff in the beginning, you can't tell me that somebody wasn't going to fund that. And so for me, it's a very good possibility that all the Foo Fighters during World War II and all these other things could have possibly been Tesla technology, and that the Germans got a hold of the Tesla technology, and at the very end of the war, they were very close on making their own UFO. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't get it done in time. They lost the war. Well, what happened with Operation Paperclip? We got Werner von Braun, their main guy, and he's the guy that was the head of NASA. We got all of their scientists, Operation Paperclip. So and that was the way it is for the CIA when it got. So our CIA was started by Nazis, and our NASA space program was started by Nazis. And they were all Freemasons and stuff like that. But anyway, what I'm getting at was that, it was just within two or so years after the war ended that all these UFO sightings that Kenneth Starr saw, the flying saucers, which he called them, I think that's where the flying saucers thing started.
Bob Lazar too, huh?
Well, Bob Lazar was more current. He was in the 70s. But I'm talking back in the day. That's what you had was Kenneth Starr, and then you had
who was the name of that guy who would take photos up in the sky? Maybe you just mentioned his name, but I can't remember his name. But it was that interesting kind of UFO shape where it almost looked like a king crown. That photo almost looks like a bolt off a car or something. And it was always out there in the fields.
They're really good photos, right? Like really detailed photos?
Yeah, and I thought some of it was filmed too. I want to say some of it was filmed.
Yeah, you're talking Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer was a contactee. You've got a huge percentage of people out there that think he's the Messiah. I think Billy Meyer might have died now. And you've got a huge percentage that say he's a hoaxer. I think it's... I would probably think that it could possibly be a little of both, because I believe that he truly was a contactee. There's been enough details analyzed on his photographs. His photographs and videos, even back in the day, were analyzed to be real and not fake. The thing is, there's been a lot of disinformation to go against him. Like his ex-wife would say, oh no, he was a faker, but she had a lot to gain from it. And the fact that he actually did make some models of some things. It's one of those things to where I think there's a good possibility where, you have real experiences and you're getting famous for it and notoriety, but those experiences aren't happening. So maybe you make some things happen to make people think they're still happening. I think that could have been a little bit of the case. I don't know, but I will say that he made predictions that came true later. That's the number one thing why I think there's something to it.
Wow. What do you know about Injured Cold?
Refresh my memory on that again.
A guy named Woodrow Derenberger was visited while he was driving out there in farm country, and all of a sudden this UFO landed, and this guy just pops out of the thing. He walks over to the door, and he's smiling, and he tells the farmer to roll down his window, and he's basically teleporting through his mind, saying, I'm Injured Cold. What's your name? They had this little short discussion, And the guy's, and he asks him about, what's that over there? He goes, oh, that's my home and all this stuff. Indrid Cold goes, I will see you again. So he gets into his UFO and goes, and goes off. And so this guy finally came out and gave an interview about this whole experience. And it turns out that after he gave that interview, Indrid Cold came back and kept visiting him over and over and over again. He would come back to his farmhouse, and people would hide out in the bushes and wait for Indrid Cold to show up. And there were reports of this guy coming out of so it's really interesting.
I do remember this story now. Yeah, I will tell you that if you talk to a couple ufologists, and if you saw the last season of The X-Files, I truly do believe the powers that be put a lot of truth in certain TV shows, and I do believe The X-Files, to a certain extent, gives us a glimpse behind the curtain.
That's what they're telling us in those meetings, to keep an eyes out.
This is what I'm getting at, and I was going back to Roswell with it. That it's within the realms of possibilities to me. That I just don't think that aliens just can be that advanced and just crash their ships and shit like that. I think that there's a chance that this could have happened either A, on purpose or by accident, because they test craft. Anytime these things crash, it's quicker to say it's an alien thing because people won't believe it. You don't want it to be test craft because you can't let these people know the technology that you've got right now. So it's within the realms of possibilities. That, think about Hollywood. You're an actor. You see TV shows. All you got to do is basically have the technology, because the government, people from the military have come forward and said we're 50 to 100 years of what people think we are, so imagine this, that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that we had our own UFOs since the 40s, and it's only gotten better and stuff like that. Imagine that with the technology you have, and with Hollywood type stuff behind you. You could go to somebody with one of those, have a Hollywood type alien thing to them, hit them with some sort of electromagnetic weapon that jumbles their brain a little bit, and they're going to believe that they're seeing an alien with a spaceship. You pump them full of drugs, put them on a spaceship. A lot of these abductees, I don't know for sure, but it could actually be secret government things pretending to be aliens and doing this to people with the advanced technology they have. That's within the realms of possibilities also. And I think that, certain aspects of it, I think that could be happening. For whatever reason, I have no idea. I've read so many different theories, that the U.S. and the governments of the world and certain alien races have things going on together where they do this or that. I would probably say that 90% of what you hear out there or what's on the internet is disinformation meant to lead you away from things. That's what it would be if for instance, if the U.S. government had secret UFO technology, they would rather you think it be a UFO than their own thing, because UFOs are easy to debunk, and it was the swamp gas, it was the lights reflecting off that thing, it was,
Have you seen the documentary Hellier?
It's free. It's on YouTube. Have you seen that yet? About the Kentucky Goblins? So there's this team, this husband and wife team, who go out and they do paranormal studies. And the name of their thing is called Weird Planet. Have you heard about this?
I'm not sure.
Planet Weird or something. So they go around, they do all these cryptozoology type things. They'll look for Sasquatch, paranormal stuff. So in 2012, they got an email from someone saying that they moved to this place called Hellier, Kentucky, and they were living there for a short time, and all of a sudden, these gremlins, these goblins, would start terrorizing the house and his family and everything, trying to get in. And he said they were like gremlins or something. And he said that they lived in the mine shafts, they lived in the caves. So the husband and wife are like, nah, you've got to send us some kind of proof, if you want us to go out there. Because he thought they were a paranormal team, like, will you get rid of these things? And they're like, well, we just kind of investigate stuff. We don't know how to get rid of something. So they're like, just send us something. So he sends them back these pictures of these three like toed little feet prints running through the mud. Right. And they're like, holy cow. And then they didn't hear anything from him for a while. And then he came back a few months later and he goes, I had to move. It was getting so bad out there, I had to move. And he goes, but now they followed me again. He goes, I'll try to take photos. So then he emails back to them like these really shady, kind of very blurry photos. But there's one that kind of shows like sort of a corner of a head and the side of it. And that they don't hear anything from him again. So they decide to go out and they investigate this in Kentucky, Hellier. So they arrive at this gas station. They're asking around. They show a picture. They're like, hey, have you seen anything like this? They start getting all these stories from the people saying, oh yeah, we've seen something like that. Oh yeah, we've seen a lot of that. So they start hearing, holy cow, this is like a commonality in this town apparently. So you get into this idea that like out in this country area, these people have these stories that they want to talk about, and for whatever reason, one would think that someone would have evidence of some of this stuff. Who knows? Maybe they move faster. They're a faster vibration or whatever. But, maybe they're able to go zip right out of the way right when you take the photo. So, but they just found, you go down this rabbit hole. And it's so awesome. And so I was thinking about this. What if those aliens were actually the gremlins, the goblins living in the mines? They said they found that if you paint a line along where these sightings were, Chupacabra, Yeti, Sasquatch, it's all where there are caves and mines. And so someone named Terry Wrist sent them an email because they ended up going to this cave. Okay, a friend of theirs ended up going to a psychic and saying, hey, the psychic told me that around this corner, if we go, there's a cave entrance where we could lead to these extraterrestrials living in the center of the earth. So they just decided to go over this particular area. They didn't tell anybody where they were going. They were looking around. They couldn't find any entrances. So they get home. They get an email from a guy named Terry Wrist. He goes, why did you stop? You were so close. And he sent them coordinates. It was longitude and latitude, and it was to the exact coordinates that they were at. So like someone was watching them. So there was this outside kind of thing, and it turns out that Terry Wrist helped with this whole experiment that was going on with these creatures that were in the center, like in these mine shafts. Anyway, it goes deep. It's such a crazy, interesting story. But when you told me about that, and to go along with your theory, I'm thinking, whoa, okay, so what if those little things, they're teaching those little things to fly the UFOs, to fly the UFO technology, right? The things that they're already experimenting with in the center of the earth. Why not? It might be those things. The gremlins or the goblins or what have you.
Well, I believe that all folklore is based on something. Demons, goblins, fairies. Although actually I've seen some interesting pictures that people have had of fairies that are, I'll just say, pretty interesting. And I believe a lot of those things, because you just don't see them all the time, I believe that they could be interdimensional. That would allow them to come and go. Same thing with Bigfoot. Because, a lot of times when people see Bigfoot, he comes and goes. It's not like Bigfoot's a fast motherfucker and he just starts jogging. Most people, when they talk about seeing a Bigfoot, they say Bigfoot's like walking, maybe briskly walking, but they never say that Bigfoot hauled ass out of here. They never say that. They just say that he briskly walks. And it's like, some people might be brave enough to see all these Bigfoot hunters and stuff, and Bigfoot never gets caught. I mean, every animal that's out there will get caught. There is hunters, and just every animal gets caught. Bigfoot, man, you can't even get a good picture of him. He's interdimensional. I'm telling you, Bigfoot's interdimensional.
I also found an extra reason is through Dolores Cannon's, through all these different past life regressions, as she's taken all these people from all over the world. She asked them about Bigfoot. She would get, Bigfoot. They'd get this entity talking to them about Bigfoot, and in all these instances, they all said that Bigfoot
that the Sasquatch read minds. That they are, what's the word I'm thinking? Telepathic. So they can read, and they're very, they're empaths. So they can tell whether you're a good person or not, what your intentions are.
Dogs can do that too.
So like if you know, right? And then the dogs that see the stuff that we can't see. So I'm thinking with these Sasquatches, you know, they're kind of sussing out the situation, and maybe they only half appear to those who they kind of, you know, want to tease us in a way of knowing that there's no way we could actually catch them in time. Who knows? They might be mischievous, just like all the other woodland creatures.
Well, you've got people out there that say that they've killed Bigfoot, or that they've had his thing. I think a lot of that stuff, possibility, because I just, if you hear it backed up by enough sources, you know, enough witnesses that say, yes, I saw it, but so-and-so came and took it away, you know, I do believe that there is certain powers that be that get rid of a lot of the evidence of what I call cryptozoology, you know, because like I said, the legends of Bigfoot and the Sasquatch and the Yeti, I mean, that's been around for centuries, you know. So when stuff's been around for centuries, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, there's something to it. and the fact that you just can't catch one, I'm telling you, they're interdimensional.
Hey everybody, gather around. Want to hear the Inspirado hotline number? Yeah! Alright, goes a little bit like this. 561-203-9179er. 561-203-9179er. Say, I got an idea. How about you try it? Sounds great! Okay, here we go. 561-203-9179er. That sounds great. 561-203-9179er. That sounds awesome. 561-203-9179er.
One of my favorite 80 films of video game culture is The Wizard, 1989, directed by Todd Holland, starring Fred Savage, Christian Slater, Jenny Lewis, Beau Bridges, and Luke Edwards. Just at the end of the decade, right, as John Hughes' films had kind of become the norm and were waning, this film took all the excitement of the Nintendo Entertainment System that swept over America and led us to play video games like Super Mario Brothers or Spy Hunter or 1942. Now, so the plot of The Wizard is really cool. Jimmy Woods is a young boy suffering from PTSD.
Because they're big and hairy doesn't mean they're not smart. You know, it just means that where they're from, they don't need clothes.
So in a sense, they're shape-shifting enough to be able to kind of harmonize with our vibration enough for us just to catch a glimpse of them. And then in a sense, they vanish back into...
Oh yeah, I think they have some sort of a way to...
Hey, here I am.
They change, that's right, they change their vibration and they're back to where they're at.
Will there be any Sasquatch in your movie?
That would actually be something for a sequel or part of a TV
Like
series.
After the credits roll, you see Sasquatch lumber
well,
through.
in the scheme of things, the whole idea behind it is it's a paranormal team going to investigate spooky things, just like remember Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
How them in the mystery van, they went to investigate mysteries. That's the same way that I see my thing. And if you did a TV series on it, every week you could have a different type of spooky thing that you would be going to investigate.
There's got to be some kind of grants out there or some kind of funding for these kinds of things? I mean, I'm wondering, there's so many collectives around that you could possibly talk to as sponsors, or certain magazines or affiliations.
I went to what I found is that my original plan is I thought I was going to be shooting this in Colorado because I knew some film people there, and one of the thoughts was to go around to all the different dispensaries there and ask them to be sponsors and stuff like that, and that's still not out of the question. It's just that in the work itself, I want to have a certain amount of control over this because it's a passion project. Although at the same time, the thing about getting more money would be it depends on how things would go. For instance, this could be something that I could make, and for whatever reason, it could be something to end up in the end being a proof of concept that you could take to somebody and look at this. Imagine what it would be if it had $1 million budget or $100,000 budget or anything even bigger than that. The whole trick of this is to make something that people's gonna think cost a lot of money but didn't. And that's what I'm hoping this is going to look like in certain instances. But at the same time, like I said, I wanted it to appear like a paranormal TV show, which is, like you're kind of right there.
What kind of cameras are you thinking about shooting with?
High def, probably DSLRs. More than likely, probably a 5D.
Did you hear about Steven Soderbergh putting out that new TV show? I'm just astonished by this. He's putting out a TV show that's all shot on an iPhone. And I investigated it, and the name of the people who put it out are called Moondog Labs. And they use 58mm lenses, special filters, special attachments on the phone.
You got to.
I mean, it's incredible, and it's much cheaper than if they were to put it on other cameras. So he made an entire television show that's going to be on Netflix. So it's awesome. Once that hits, man, my prediction is that you're going to see lots of that out there with people just starting to, a huge influx of all that stuff, where something that would normally cost, $20 million to make now it truly is only. But
let's talk about though that even though he used an iPhone, he had professional lighting and he had all that stuff that he had to do.
Well, yeah. So just imagine all the stuff that you're saving money on. You're not renting stuff. You're not paying for imagine if you are a cinematographer. I guess the cool thing is just the idea that it's showing us more and more that the everyday artist just has control.
No, absolutely. But it's all about technology, because I will guarantee you that he took that iPhone image and he put it into After Effects, and he put a lot of sugar and spice on it to make it look like. You can. I've seen what you can do with stuff to make things look 200% better. But the fact that you could shoot on your iPhone, the whole point behind that is that people shouldn't have excuses on why they just can't shoot anything. Because if you've got a phone nowadays, and with cheap software that's out there, editing software and stuff like that, there's no excuse why you just can't go and shoot something if you just want to shoot something.
Yes.
I would give the same advice to anybody that I got advice from big-time directors, and that would be that don't wait for the big budgets. You shoot something with what you have right now, with the resources you have right now. What can you do? And they'll say, what I can do? You know what? My uncle's got this really spooky barn and a spooky thing. All right, well, write a script around that one setting and shoot something right there.
Yeah.
That type of thing. My whole thing with Alien, Zombies, and Stoners was that when just the title, the hook, I had that. And it's just like a song.
songs for songwriters, when you're writing a song, a lot of times you'll start off with the hook and then you build around that. Well, that's what I did. I had the hook, aliens, zombies, and stoners. I knew the title was gold, and it's just so I had to build something around it. And so having a hook with anything can help, put something out.
So have you already, I can imagine that you've probably already come up with a fun theme song for this movie.
I'm going to have my own original music in it. Yeah, well, there's going to be music video elements to it. So it's going to be more about the music setting the tone. It's going to be a tad bit more on the rock side, so to speak, more of a pop rock thing. The whole overall soundtrack is probably going to have a little bit more of a rock and roll feel to it. But it will be original tunes. I haven't decided exactly on which things are going to happen, but people will hear guitars in it.
So one thing's for sure, there's going to be guitars on this soundtrack. Is this going to be something where the, sort of like I'm imagining where that music actually becomes its own character, kind of like the Quentin Tarantino movies, that the soundtrack also becomes its own character that people can collect and get familiar with?
In the sense that I wanted to convey a certain feeling for the audience. For instance, one of the songs that's in there is a very happy song, and it's going to have the main characters, in a video. But the song, because it's so happy and poppy, it's designed to make people like the main characters, because the beginning of the movie, they just came off a scary incident and stuff like that, and now they're getting ready to go on an adventure, and it's going to show them in a very happy light, and it's going to get the audience to like them. So it's the type of song that would make people happy, bop your head back and forth and make them likable. And then one of the other parts, there's one where one of the characters is having a hallucination, and he imagines this one girl doing a dance, a choreographed dance with some zombies behind her, and she's dancing to a rock and roll tune that just works for the groove of a dance like that.
So do you have a packet, any of this information together, like the budget, or someone emailed me a budget template?
Mm-hmm.
I can forward that to you, so you can at least get in your brain.
Well, I've actually got business plan templates and stuff like that. And if I was
so
going
you have a packet, like if you want to present it to an investor?
Well,
because I have some ideas.
Well, this is what I found is with something like this, because like I said, going to AFM, I talked to these guys, and through my producers, is when you're dealing with something that's generally under $50,000, most types of people that invest in things don't do that. That's at that level or less. You're looking at private investors or crowdfunding, that type of a thing.
Okay, so just for kicks, let's just for kicks, we just go, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna say, okay, well, I'd be open to $100,000, or whatever, to make this thing. Would you be willing to, like, if someone sponsored it, would that help you out? Or, like, for instance, do you have a packet as to
let's just put it to you. I made up a couple things for my producer one time where I broke down. I had a budget for it, and I broke down pretty much where all the money for that was going to go. And the thing is when you're dealing with this, is that it's one of those things that when they ask you, what kind of budget you got? Well, generally, you don't want to tell them. They're like, well, what do you think we got? And, they'd say, you're about right. But see, this is the type of concept that, as a filmmaker, you want to figure out, okay, what kind of concept can I do that can be done for cheap? Like my first film, The Light, was found footage. Why? Because found footage, it's permissible to look rough around the edges, because found footage is, hey, it's single camera, it's like you're with your friends, and then the shit goes down, and you're filming it first person right there.
You're allowed to just be loose with it, and
exactly. So,
you know, if there's a glitch, you can intend to put those things in there.
Absolutely, and so that allows you to tell a story in a short amount of time, because you're not having multiple camera setups, turnarounds, all these different things. So, in keeping with that, I wanted to kind of go the next level up and not be found footage. But you know what? Paranormal TV shows are very popular out there, and they are also single cameras. You either have a single cameraman or you have like a GoPro with that POV on you type of thing. So that's the next step up that could be done. Once again, no multiple camera angles, turnarounds, or anything like that. And you do it as a first person type of thing once again. You just take it up to another level. And that's what I thought I would do with this one, to once again do something for a lower budget, because you got to get something made, and I truly believe that you can make things with like no budget or low budget that basically people will really, really like, because you know there's a whole subculture out there that loves low budget things. So that there's a whole thing for low budget things out there that people love, and you know, this right here, like I said, will hopefully end up having a look of something that you know is you know still far better than Paranormal Activity or some of these other things, just because you're going to have interesting characters, and you're going to have funny situations, and you're going to have something that hopefully will become a cult classic. And as a filmmaker, I would think that I would hopefully take it someplace to where you can make another one, you know, and that's where things would really happen. You know?
Now, because there's about, it lets me go up to an hour, so where would be some good places that people can either, you know, read about you or see what projects you worked on, or see, you know, any of that stuff?
Well, right now, because it's in the very beginning stages of the movie, I've just got the Facebook webpage, which is, you know, facebook.com/alien zombies and stoners. All the up-to-date information on the film can be found right there. Within the next few months, when the movie goes into production, I'm going to be having a website to where I will be able to have more fan interaction, and actually get into selling some really cool swag and merchandise, because we're planning on having Alien Zombies and Stoners merchandise also. T-shirts, hats, certain things, posters. Anyway, we'll have some stuff that can be from some free swag and stuff that of course we're going to sell. But anyway, we're going to be promoting it to a point. Like I said, if we get a sales distributor right away, then it's all going to be in their hands.
Where can people see The Light? How can they actually find it? What are keywords?
Just go to YouTube, put in The Light, and put in found footage. Found footage, horror, either of those two keywords will bring it right up.
What about your name?
My name is John Gillette.
And then how do you spell that for the folks who are listening?
John, Jon, Gillette, Gillette.
There you go, folks. Check it out. Keep your eyes open. And thank you for listening. Any final words of wisdom?
Yeah. Basically, thoughts become things. So choose your thoughts wisely.
Oh, that is good. That is good.
Wow.